In this episode, we're going to take a look at more weird, rare, and awesome Dungeons & Dragons products from the 1980s. So, stick around. Hello everybody, it's me Rob. Welcome to another episode of Days of Dorker Past. In this episode, we're going to take a look at more weird, rare, and just downright awesome Dungeons & Dragons products from the 1980s. To be fair, it's all a little weird because in the 1980s, there was a major persecution against Dungeons & Dragons. I've talked about it in a couple past episodes, so I'm going to skip over that and get right to the products. And what better way to kick the party off with party supplies? That's right. In the 1980s, you could get Dungeons & Dragons party supplies. What kid wouldn't want these? Who wouldn't want to eat their birthday cake on a plate like this? You would think with the popularity of the cartoon, we would see characters like Hank or Eric or even Uni on party supplies. But no. These came straight from the LJN toy line, and that makes it even more awesome. Now, number 2 on the list, paint by numbers. What a very popular pastime in, probably the 60s, 70s, and in the 80s. Just to tell you this wasn't your mom and dad's normal paint by numbers, this was the Dungeons & Dragons Adventure Set paint by numbers. This set came with 6 different paints and 2 different pictures to paint. One of the heroes and one of the villains. And on a very neat side note, this was made by Hasbro, which seemed to have all the periodical and maybe paper rights to the Dungeons & Dragons toy line. Their name will come up again later in the list. Now, number 3 on the list is from a company that made a lot of items that appeared on the first list. Now they're back with even more awesome products, and that is Laramie. First off, from Laramie, we have a flashlight. Like most of Laramie's products in the Dungeons & Dragons line, this featured the same recycled Red Dragon artwork that we'd seen on many other products that they'd made. This time, it appears on a yellow flashlight. And what better way to light the darkness than with Dungeons & Dragons? Number 4 on the list are Halloween costumes by Collegeville Costumes. These came out in 1982, and on the last list I went over some role-playing toys, as in helmets and swords. Those weren't as readily available as these were during Halloween. You had characters such as Zorak and Warduke. And believe me, even though they weren't as sturdy as the role-playing toys, these were awesome. Nothing beats those trash bag plastic smocks with the beautiful artwork. And the masks weren't half bad either. Number 5 on the list are magical coloring books. Well, they're not really they're not really magical, but these were created by Hasbro, who, as I said earlier, had like the periodical and paper rights to Dungeons & Dragons. These coloring books focused on the LJN toy line, yet again, and featured characters that never made it to toy form. They're simply awesome, simply magical, and if you hop online, you can do an image search and find blank pages to color yourself. Number 6. Another Laramie product, and that is the official Dungeons & Dragons yo-yo. Again, since we're talking about Laramie, I don't really need to bring up that it's the same recycled artwork. But, as an added bonus, your yo-yo says the word yo-yo, so no one will be confused on what you are doing. Number 7 on the list comes from a company called ARC, and that is the Color and Build Castle. This castle and its punch-out figures came on sturdy fiberboard. You could color them and then build the castle of your dreams. What really made this awesome is, again, we saw characters that did not appear in the LJN toy line, great artist interpretations of characters that we'd already seen in the toy line, and probably the most buff and ripped version of Warduke that you'll ever see. This set also featured different races and creatures that just help fill out your Dungeons & Dragons world. It also came with a catapult you could build. I mean, you can't go wrong with this set. Number 8 on the list is from a company called NSI. They appeared on the last list for making the Adventure Diorama set. This time they come at us with cool candles. Now what makes these candles cool twice, is that they are made with a special wax that requires no heat for melting. I'm not really sure how it worked, but they provided enough colored wax that you could make 10 different elves, dragons, orcs, and other characters, and it had reusable molds. I'm not sure if at the time you could pick up extra wax to make more, but 10 is a great number to start with. This set didn't feature any of the characters in either the toy line or the cartoon, and this is a very awesome, just generic Dungeons & Dragons monster, creature, and race set. On the box it says they're for decorative use, but if you need to light them, get a parent to help. Number 9 on the list comes from Laramie again, and I can skip what's on it. You know what's on it. It's a red dragon. But it's a wallet. A yellow plastic wallet. I would love to be carrying my money around in this nowadays, and I would shell out that dough for Mountain Dew and Doritos. That's not a stereotype. I've done it, and I know you've all done it. Now, number 10 on the list is an item that you don't see at all anymore, and that is a wood burning set. Back in the day, you would get a wood burner, which is a very hot and dangerous item to put in a kid's hands, and you would etch little things into wood. In this case, the wood that they provided was that cheap stuff that is very reminiscent to those wooden airplanes that you would get. Well, they would pre-print something on there, and you would outline it and etch it into the wood by burning it. This featured characters from the LJN toy line, and you would make such items as a jewelry box, a pencil holder, a dice cup. Now you're talking. So I'm going to leave the list at that for now. I actually found a ton more things, but I can save them all for a third episode of this. Why? Because I love it. I love looking back at these old products. And with a property like Dungeons & Dragons, it's just mind-boggling how on one front you had parents and churches fighting it and wanting to put it down and saying it's the worst thing on the face of the earth. And then on this hand, you have wood-burning kits, candle kits, school stationery. It's just a weird juggling act that TSR did with selling out their properties. They tried to make it as wholesome as possible, but not many people bought into it because of how loud the churches and parents groups were. It's actually a very unique time in pop culture history, in American history. So I love talking about this. D&D in the 80s is just a great topic that I love, and I hope you enjoy it too. Anyway, thanks for watching. If you like what you saw, give a thumbs up. If you got something to say, please leave a comment. I love reading them and I love getting back to you all. And if you're new around here, hit the subscribe and hit that little bell thing if you want to be notified whenever there's a new episode. But until next time, keep being rad and stay dorky.